Hello, everyone, and welcome to Civic Platform. This is your host, Zuher Almusre. So, today I have a long discussion with Rita Shehal, the Executive Director of Mood Disorder Association of Manitoba. So, this association, it helped the Winnipeggers to pass their mental health challenging. So when we are talking about the mental health, we find there is a huge challenge face anyone have or has the mental health disease in his home, or if he has it, he hesitate to share it and he hesitate to talk about his pain. It's easily for that person to say, like, I get harmed in my arm or my leg. All that disease, it's easier for him to talk about and go to the emergency room for it. But when it comes to the mental health, they feel shy, they keep it in their heart, and they didn't go to the specialist to make him overcome this challenge. So let's find out how this organization, by its weekly groups, help the Winnipeggers to pass their mental health challenge. And this is a new episode from Civic Platform. Let's jump right in. Hello, Rita. Thank you for joining us. We are very glad to have you in our show, Civic Platform. And I have a big thank you to make for us a room in your busy schedule. So again, welcome to Civic Platform.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
Thank you. So to begin, Rita, can you introduce yourself? Who are you and what are you doing? So the people who's watching you now understand who's speaking right now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rita Chahal. I'm the Executive Director of Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba, and we are a medium-sized charitable organization providing mental health supports and services to our community with those who are needing, mental health services at this time, particularly peer support.
Mm-hmm. And when did Mood Association start, and why it's a start?
Okay. Well, it's been around for about 40 years. And of course, it started out as a need for people who were experiencing different mental health issues, were needing that additional support, because 40 years ago, mental health was very much a taboo subject, and in many cases it still is. So there were community-minded individuals who started the organization 40 years ago. In a small form, and then over the years it's grown. And in 1983, I believe it became incorporated and has become now a charitable organization.
Mm-hmm. So if I want to register, if I have some challenging with my mental health, how I can reach your organization? What should I provide to be a member or client in your organization?
Well, our organization is to anyone who needs help in terms of dealing with their mental health issues. We are a provincial organization, so we are across the province. We have offices in all of the regions, 9 in so Westman, Parkland, North, Interlake, Central, and all the way the province has divided up. So we are a provincial organization, so you can, in whatever part of the province, you can certainly reach us across the province. You don't have to have any special reason other than you or a loved one might be needing some information, some supports for yourself. for anyone that might be dealing with mental health issues. Now, I want to clarify that the supports that we were able to provide are based on peer support model, not on clinical. So let me just try and explain what I mean. Is if you think about when people are experiencing different mental health challenges, might be mental illness, might be a mood disorder, might be some other form, short or long term. There are generally three aspects of helping an individual manage their mental well-being. One is the medical professional, your doctor, your psychiatrist, your psychologist, or whoever is providing that medical intervention for you. Not everyone has one, but in most cases, if somebody is experiencing a serious mental health, mental illness, they do that. The other person, the other part of the triangle that is part of your support system is your family. So your loved ones, your immediate family, your children, your spouse, your parents, those are the other very important. And they work very closely with your healthcare provider to make sure that you're doing what you have the support you need. The third part of that triangle is the community that supports you. So it's organizations like Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba, Canadian Mental Health, your employer, your schools, your extended family, your extended friends, community in general. So we are part of that third piece that is part of a continuum to help individuals like you and I, or anyone who might be experiencing from the community need that extra support to be able to manage their mental wellness. So I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how we fit into the picture. We do not provide clinical intervention, and by that I mean we don't provide psychiatric or any other form of counseling or support. We do not administer or recommend medications. We, however, so there's no clinical intervention. However, if we assess and feel, and through the conversations that you and I might have, we feel that you need clinical support, you need that additional direct medical intervention, then we would help direct you. Whether it's a hospital, or we give you some names and phone numbers and information about where you can get that additional support. And sometimes we will go with you and help advocate on your behalf to get you and help you navigate the system. So that's part of the service that we could provide. On a weekly and daily basis, we have what we call peer support groups, which are offered now both during the pandemic. We switched everything over to online, but we've continued to keep that. But we are now again increasing our in-person peer support groups. You can go to our website, Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba, and find out what groups are running on which day and what times, and whether they're in person or whether it's online. We have both versions, and in what region. And so you can be from any part of the province, and you can connect with us. Mm-hmm. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the groups, and what make me and take my attention to invite you for this meeting today. It's the group, because every day I see the advertising for it in the social media platforms, mm-hmm. In the news, community news. So what does that groups make, and how it helps the Winnipeggers to overcome their challenges?
Okay. Very good question. Very good question. Now more than ever, we are all discovering and realizing the need for mental health support. Up until recently, a lot of people would not talk about mental illness or mental health issues, or if they were having a challenge. It still was very much a taboo subject. And in many communities, it still is. However, with COVID, the conversations opened up. People started to talk about it. and talk about it in a way that is informative, in a way that is helpful, and to allow people to explore potential resources and help. So what we do is we provide that additional peer support. And so our groups are called peer support groups, which means that when you talk about peer support, it means that people who might have also had lived or shared experience like yours and have gone through something, they can all come together and talk about how they coped with, how they dealt with, what were some of the things that they tried. And so when somebody is going through a difficult period, they might often think that, gosh, I'm the only one who's going through this. There's nobody else, nobody understands. Well, there are lots and lots of people who are going through what I might be going through, or what you might be going through, or what might, a loved one that of mine or anyone. And so that is what being able to talk to others that might have gone through and figured out how to, or at least tried things, it allows them to try some of those things themselves. Again, emphasizing that we don't make medical recommendations, we don't do, it's not counseling, it is peer support. So peer support means other people who have gone through what you have. So most of our groups are, around anxiety, around depression, bipolar, postpartum, and families who might have loved ones, but they don't know how to deal with it, come together as well. We have a program for disordered eating and body image for women, for men, for kids in school. We're doing presentations on that. We have youth programs. So kids, many of the kids that we see, teenagers generally between 12 and 17, are going through gender issues. They're going through bullying. They're going through depression, suicidal thoughts, the anxiety, stress, isolation, cultural adaptation. These are many of the types of issues that people are going through, and it's okay to ask for help. It's important to ask for help. And so by coming and being vulnerable and asking for help is perhaps the most courageous step that you can take towards your own wellness journey.
Mm-hmm. So I have something I want to share with you, and I'm wondering how much you agree with me with that. When we have when we get injured physically, it's easy for anyone to go to the emergency room.
Exactly. Yep.
But
go to a doctor and get a bandage.
When it comes to our mental health, everyone hesitates to go to a specialist and share what he's suffering from. He has a heart broken. He have a lot of difficulty in his life, and he don't accept any assistance from anybody because that's a personal things. It's
feels like a personal failure, right?
So
feels like a failure.
And it caused us another illnesses. I hear for a study, it says most of the cancers came from mental health problems. So why we don't have this education to understand this is a huge illnesses, and we have to share, and we need to go for someone and looking for advice. So it's a biggest challenge for the psychiatric, because sometimes if we suffer from something for ourselves, we go and said, I have a question about my friend. We didn't say it it's regarding to us. My neighbor told me something about one of his family. We don't need to say, this is my problem and this is my symptoms. How with this group, trying to help these people to be freely and talk about their situation.
Yeah, well, you've hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely what has continued, what has happened, and still continues to happen. We are so afraid to show our vulnerability, to show that we might be experiencing. It's easy enough when you have a broken arm or a leg or a diagnosis of a heart condition or something more serious like with cancer and things like that, we are very open to talking about that. But when it comes to our mental well-being, people start to feel a sense of failure and also that they're the only ones who might be experiencing it. And in a lot of our ethnocultural community, I can tell you from personal experience that is still very much a taboo subject, that we don't want to talk about our mental well-being because it was, historically, people didn't have the resources. People were put away in asylums, put away in hospitals, and so people are afraid of those kinds of treatments. So we don't want to talk. However, I do believe now with COVID and the discussion that happened with pandemic and the impact, the direct impact it had on our lives and our daily lives, both on our physical but also on our mental, the conversation has started. So I'm really encouraged by that. I'm also encouraged by the fact that we have employers, we have groups like yourself who are really trying to educate the public on these things. And I think that we can't stop there. We have to continue. The youth have been so disproportionately impacted by COVID that is an area that has a lot of gaps, and we need to be investing in it. Mood disorders has in particular reached out to ethnocultural communities, particularly, coming from my background, the Asian community. We have held events and discussions and panels and resources for the Asian community in particular. We're also reaching out to other communities. We work with the entire BIPOC population, and so we do have clients from across the board. A lot of our work is with the Indigenous community as well. And so I think we're slowly starting to peel away the onions, the layers of the onions again, and starting to get at the heart of it. We get a lot of people, a lot of employers now asking us to come to their places of work and talk about this. And you wouldn't believe how many people identify. Again, many of them will not say, oh, well, I might be experiencing it, but you can tell from body language and from their expression that they're the ones. But often it is very much a loved one that might be experiencing it. I've certainly talked with a lot of people when I go to make presentations, and they will just say, you know what? We have a family member who's dealing with addictions and plus some other co-occurring illnesses. And can you tell us how you help them? Mm-hmm. And we do. We get calls around suicide, because that's a very difficult topic to talk about. During COVID, a lot of people died by suicide because of the loneliness, the depression, the anxiety that went with it. And so that's a topic that we often talk about with our young people when they join us for the peer support or for our direct program that we provide for young people, which is called our MAD Camp, which stands for Music, Art, and Dance. So young people can deal with some of their issues in creative ways through expressing themselves through music, through art, through dance, through drama. And we have a program for that.
Rita, we have a huge part here in Winnipeg about the newcomers. Also, these people, they come with all this mental health symptoms. They came from war, they left their families, and when they are coming here, they have a difficulty to explain themselves in English and also maybe sometimes in their first language. So how these people, we can offer them some help?
Absolutely. Great question. I don't know if you know, but a lot of my previous work has been working with refugees and newcomers. Mm-hmm. So I'm very well aware of the circumstances. I myself, 56 years ago, I came with my family as a newcomer. We settled in the east coast of Canada. So I've lived the immigrant experience. Mm-hmm. People are coming from war-torn. They've been impacted by political unrest, and through no fault of their own. Many times the refugees have been displaced, and they're put in a whole new country. Sometimes not by choice, but because that's where they were. That's where life took them. And I absolutely understand that they bring with them a lot of different issues. What happens often, though, when you move to a new place, and not with everybody, but majority, when you move to a new place, there's always this period of elation, right? There's an excitement. You want to get settled. You want to get and the main thing that you're trying to find at that point is, I need a place to stay. I need food on the table. I need a job. I need to get my kids in school. Those are the kind. And so those are the first thing those are the immediate needs, right? When you look at the hierarchy of needs, you have to try and. So people will often, put their mental well-being and their mental and emotional needs to the back burner. But it's only after time that some things start to emerge. But we don't want to talk about it because in some way it says to the world, or we think it does, that I'm weak. I couldn't take care of my family. I can't do this. I've left so much behind, and to start all over. So I think language is often a barrier, and so being able to have people who are trained from different communities to be able to understand. And I know we have a great settlement sector in this province, and there's a lot of support, but there's always room for more. Organizations like us are very open and have already started the process of working with the newcomer populations, with the settlement agencies, to be able to provide that additional support, to be able to add elements about an understanding of mood disorders, and that it's okay to ask for help. I just, recently received a very humbling award for the top 25 immigrants in Canada. And one of the questions that they asked me in one of the interviews that I did was, what advice would you give to newcomers? And one of my responses was that don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay. Your vulnerability and your openness and your willingness is your greatest strength. So if you are struggling, if or a loved one is struggling, whether it's a parent or an elderly parent or a child, a spouse, a sibling, or a friend or a neighbor from your community, then seek out for help. You may not have the resources at your fingertips, but you can go to organizations like us, and we will help you navigate the system. We'll be able to share with you. This past summer, had a circumstance where we had a client that did not know how to navigate the system. And again, we very successfully were able to help them connect with the settlement sector and got them the right information, and they're doing quite well now. So again, we're happy to do that. On a very personal note, my own personal commitment, have walked people through things, and we'll continue to work with our newcomer and refugee population in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, and across the province, to be able to provide the resources that you need. And so we look forward to working more closely with the settlement sector to be able to do this.
From my notice, when I'm visiting my community, they said, we can't fit in here. It's the weather, it's difficult. The snow, the winter, it's too long. We didn't feel like we belong to this country. We need to be back one day to our countries. And that's maybe it take them to the first step to move from Winnipeg to another provinces. So how today the weather it's affect your clients from your
weather has a huge impact on our mental health. Often between the time between October and between October and I believe March, because of the sunlight and the number of hours of sunlight, it does impact your mental well-being. It's called seasonal affective disorder. The darkness does impact. So there are resources. We certainly deal with a lot of people that are impacted by seasonal affective disorder. There's people have lights. There's other tools. Again, being able to ask for help is okay. The other thing I would say is that, it does take time to get settled in the country. I've been here for 56 years. For the first 5 years, I believe, my mother, every day she would tell my father, I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back. And she, again, was quite vulnerable herself, and it had an impact on her. So that happened. It's not unique to any one person. It's quite common, and it's okay. It does take people time to settle. But I will also add that Canada is one of the most beautiful countries in the world that you can live in. I think give ourselves a chance, give the country a chance. And there are just so many incredible people, incredible Canadians who have been, who are either born here or have moved here, who are willing to help you get back on track, to help you make a productive life, to help you with the next generation, to get your kids in school, to get those great jobs. And we have, I think you also have to believe in the systems that exist in our country. While there are certainly room for improvement anywhere, we do have some great systems in place. And I for one, this is my home. This is where I belong. I love going back to India and visiting. I certainly maintain a lot of my cultural heritage, but I'm very, very proud of my bicultural heritage, the best of both worlds. And that's something that I have tried to instill with my children, with my family, to be proud of that bicultural heritage. It takes time. And it's okay to ask for help.
I want to ask you now a question as a leader for your organization. What are the tips or the advices you give to your team to deal with these people when they are coming and want to talk and they take that step and they trust your organization? So how you treat them, how you deal with these people, because they are already a sensitive people. So what will be your advice to your team every day?
Well, our advice to that's a very good question. I'll tell you that almost all of our staff and volunteers that we work with have either lived or shared experience. So they've gone through depression or addiction, whatever the diagnosis or condition may be. I believe that what we do best is that we meet people at where they're at, not where we think they should be at. So to be in this business and to be in this sector, you have to be somebody who's truly caring and compassionate. So we ask people to be caring and compassionate when somebody is asking for help, to understand their vulnerability, because they've gone through it themselves, so they know what it feels like. I've many times dealt with people on the phone who've called me, and sometimes it's because they know me personally or somebody made a recommendation. We've certainly given that additional support that we need. So that caring, kindness, compassion, understanding, and if they don't know how to help, then let's work together, work with somebody else who might be able to give the individual. So I think anyone who comes to mood disorders will not be disappointed. We have volunteers that come from different communities that are here to help, answer the phones. They'll talk to you. They'll talk to you in a one-on-one or in a group setting. I have to say our workforce is very multicultural, and we're trying to maintain that. We have a number of languages that we speak here as well, and that includes me. Whenever the need for my intervention or my services required, I'm always available.
So now we are reached the end of our episode, and the final advice or the final words you would like to say it for the people who's watching you and still hesitate to share their mental health challenges. What will be your final word to wrap up everything, or if you want to include anything I missed to ask you about? So the mic with you right now.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Again, I will repeat just a number of other things that I've said before, is the importance of asking for help if you need it. There are lots and lots of good people in this community who are there to be able to do that. The other thing I want to add is that anything you say or share with us is kept in the strictest of confidence. Confidentiality is absolutely imperative. That people sign when people work here, both as a volunteer and as a staff person, have to sign confidentiality agreement. So if, say for example, just as an example, if my daughter or my child or my son or my sibling wanted to be part of one of our groups, I don't have to know anything about it. They can go directly. So the confidentiality would be maintained. Nobody would ever tell me that somebody that is in this. So confidentiality is huge with us as an organization. And again, I will repeat what I've said before is give yourself a chance, ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And that is your greatest strength, that you're willing to be able to ask for and then accept some help. And that will get you to the next step. So again, I'll just say that, and we'll end it. I hope that will help somebody. And if absolutely somebody needs to talk to me on a one-on-one, I'm here as well.
Thank you very much, Rita Kahel. It was a pleasure. I wish you and your organization all the success. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, and it was our pleasure.
We reached the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. As you see, there is no a stupid question. There is no wrong question. If you have something you suffer from, go to a person who you trust and talk to him. Share your pain. Tell the specialist what you are suffering from. Don't keep it. In this way, I believe 100% you will be overcome your challenging, and you will be more subtle and happy and confident in your life. So if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to see our upcoming episodes.